let's talk about the stages then of this journey and this process to unconditional love. So, as I've mentioned many times, when you meet your twin flame, it's often very quick, it comes out of nowhere, and it activates this dimension of unconditional love. And it's lovely, isn't it? It's a great feeling. But after a while, there's a bit of a testing phase. And this testing phase, I call it like an interview with love. It's like you're being interviewed to see what parts of you match unconditional love and what parts of you don't. And that's what gets triggered. It's tested to see how strong the union is and whether they can hold the unconditional love. And I guess because that starts to get a bit difficult, there's a crossroad reached, which is stage 3. You reach this crossroad, and this is where you start to doubt the connection. You're kind of sure of it, but then you start doubting it. And, you know, some twins will say to each other, look, I think we might need a bit of time apart to heal. I'm not leaving you, but I think we just need to heal something. I know I certainly said that. And it was probably very threatening and challenging to my twin, actually. But I could sense that the conditions weren't quite right. I had this knowing about it. And it can be a very painful decision for twins to separate. For the one who decides to run, it's extremely overwhelming, and they're in fear and often a bit of shock, and they just don't know how to say, I need space, so they run. For the chaser, or the person who absolutely knows this is right, it's very difficult that they made that decision. So this is where it sets up the runner-chaser phase. The runner often runs because they just need to regroup, and they do need to do some healing and work with what's been triggered within them. But that pain of separation can then trigger this feeling of abandonment and being left. And that is a very deep wound that needs healing and facing. And often the feminine in the pairing will do that work. They will set about doing the cleaning up of this separation phase. And it's more important that they do that than chase, because if the chasing happens, it tends to push the twin further away. And it's not often helpful to stay friends, because then the healing doesn't happen, because the magnet just keeps doing this and not really healing. So what that triggers is a surrendering process. And there are things to be surrendered. And these are often hereditary things that we inherited, that were not even ours. It could be abandonment. It could be guilt, shame. It's really interesting working with clients who are peeling these layers back. And what's often triggered in them is a feeling of not being safe. And so they look at that and they realize it goes back through generations. You are here to help to heal a generational pattern. And in my own journey of healing abandonment, because my father took off when I was born, it's a hereditary pattern within my family, because my father was in an orphanage. He was abandoned too. As I've healed that, I saw tremendous changes in my children. I saw their personalities change. That's a whole other category of healing that you go through as a twin flame. And as you surrender, all these things are unloving. And look, something's either loving or it's not. Conditional love is very common on planet Earth. It's still love, but it has its conditions and expectations and innuendos with it. Unconditional love is in full allowance and acceptance. And a thought is either loving or it's not. A feeling is either loving or it's not. And so you learn to clean all these patterns. I call it cleaning energy. And the reason I call it cleaning energy is because some people call it the work, the twin flame work. That sounds really difficult to me. What's difficult is not the work. What's difficult is the pain and holding onto it. So the more you learn to clean that energy, it's just like cleaning a house. At first you don't feel like doing it, but you get going. Sometimes you have a bit of fun doing it, put a bit of music on, get the action happening, dance a bit. But as you get going on the cleaning, you start to feel amazing. And when it's done, you are then living in this lovely, clean environment that really supports you and elevates you. That's what clean this energy is all about. So each piece you clean, you feel lighter and lighter and lighter. And that's a very big part of the process. And a lot of people get very stuck in this surrendering process. This is where we experience the ego death or the dark night of the soul, or moving through the fourth dimension, which is a dimension of ending things. So a lot of people get stuck in this surrendering phase. They get a bit attached in their mind because they're thinking, I just want my twin flame back, that'll make me happy. The trouble is, if you haven't done this cleaning up, it'll be happy for a little while, but those stages won't progress and there'll be another separation. And isn't that common in twin flames? They come together, pull apart, come together, pull apart. They're testing all the time whether the unconditional love is strong enough to hold the connection. And so as you do all this emptying out and surrendering, you then begin to harmonize yourself with love. You're checking your thoughts. Are they in harmony with love? If you're holding any anger or resentment towards your twin, you are not in a place of unconditional love. So you learn to clean that up. If you are yearning for them, you're not in a place of unconditional love. So you learn to release that and let that go. So this journey becomes about you turning yourself into unconditional love so that you can move into this higher state and stay there and contribute to the planet by demonstrating unconditional love. As you do this process, you become then harmonized with love and what I call the disarmed state. All those triggers that you had, they're disarmed, and triggers are like loaded guns sitting inside of us, waiting for a dramatic event to press that button for it to fire. And the firing of those triggers is part of the healing process. It shows you what's within your energy fields that's not at this higher state of love. Once you see it, you get to cleaning it up. We don't need to psychoanalyze it. We just need to clean it up and bring it into a place of higher love. So if you have met your twin flame, you are being called home to unconditional love. And so to come into harmonious union with your twin flame and have them stay, it's about bringing your internal energy into this place of unconditional love. And so when all these triggers get fired, you'll find these recurring patterns within you and you'll start to heal them.